I always want to meet I always want to meet the people that do the voiceover for those things, like the hold music person, the press pound person. Like maybe it's the same person, who knows? But I would that's a woman who wows me, as the woman that got that job. That now, like everybody that records a Zoom meeting now hears her voice, right? So,
Right. Erin Larson, hi, welcome. And welcome
Aaron,
to everybody else who has joined today. This is the Women Who Wow program on enhancing and increasing an amplification of your emotional intelligence. I'm going to get into that in a minute. I'm so happy you guys are here. I have a couple of slides I just want to show, and then Rich, I'll open it up to
sure.
you. Rich,
Yeah,
can you let me know if you can see this?
I see it.
Okay, there he is. Rich, you got to talk about that red jacket in a minute.
You
Like, I
know that is actually a really funny story to be told, but I'll give you a short version of it. That was an impulse buy at Express one day. I bought it because they're like Express did a great job of marketing these really bright jackets. So I went into Express, saw this red jacket, it jumped out at me. I loved it's a built-in pocket square. I really loved that. So I bought it. Did not wear it for a year. I had it in my closet, never wore it. And all of a sudden I had this shoot for my speaking business that I was like, I want something that shows more of my vibrant personality. And I looked over, I'm not kidding. The first time I wore that jacket was in this photo shoot.
oh, shut up. Really? I
And it's now
love it.
become like my brand. So
I love it. And you know what I love about it? It's like we all like, once I worked at a firm that rhymes with relevant and Cromwell, and they would say like, Stephanie, you wear too many colors. Like you need to like tone it down. And I was like, okay. Like you need to tone down your sunshine. And I was like, I don't know how to do that, but bright
yeah.
colors help me. You can be professional and wear bright colors. And we've had Melanie Lipman on here. She's a style consultant to talk to us about that. But I love a man also who will wear a bright color. So awesome.
Yeah. And I've got tons of pink in my closet. I'm not afraid of pink. And I've now taught my sons that they should, like, my sons don't mind wearing pink. Like at first they were like, oh, that's a girl color. I was like, no, it's not. Look at dad's drawer. Look at my sock drawer. Look at my shirts. Like I've got tons of pink.
Absolutely not. And nor is it bad to wear, like, it's in honor of Halloween. It's October. I'm pulling out some of my favorite like Halloweeny movies, and Gremlins is one of my favorite. Rich was worried that I was drinking water on this and I may turn from Gizmo into the Gremlin. I assure you all that I will try not to. I would love if everybody could put their favorite Halloween movie in the chat so that I can catch up on these movies at this month, and also put a link to your LinkedIn URL so you can connect with Rich, you can connect with each other. That is why we do these programs. Okay, so thank you guys. Also, for those who are missing this live, it will be available on my YouTube channel and on the Women Who Wow website and all of that good stuff. And I'm sure Rich will promote it. And guys, I have a really cool tip on, like, if you go to a webinar and you just want to promote a segment, Alexis Robertson, who you guys may know, she's the Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Foley and Lardner, taught me the most amazing trick. Rich, it's really low budget, but can I tell you, Erin Larson, you may enjoy this too.
I'm down for low budget tips.
Okay, so you go to the video where it is on your phone. If it's on YouTube, or if it's if you have it saved in your phone, you go to the screen recording feature. You record just the segment you want, and like if you're watching the longer video, and then you have like the short video part of it, and that's my tip for you. And then it actually comes out. So if you don't have iMovie or anything like that, or know how to use that stuff, which I don't, this is what I started using. So does that make sense? So like you're actually watching it on your phone, and then you're screen recording just the section you want.
I love that. And I'm all about low budget movies, and that sounds like a low budget movie tip. So I'm here for it.
Did you ever see Sharknado?
No, I have too many things in my queue that I need to get caught up on as far as watching. So Sharknado's in there. I'm not going to say it's top 10 in the queue, but it's there because we all need a good, brain release, brain relax time. So,
well, it is the most absurd movie I've ever seen, and I've done that as a Halloween costume. I actually had sharks around my body, and it was really fun. Anyway,
yeah, I saw that.
All right.
I still have nightmares about that costume of yours. It was terrifying.
I will post a photo of it. Back to Rich, and let's just, before we get into Rich, I just want to let you guys know we have a Women Who Wow happy hour on October 28th at 5:30, open to everybody, free, of course. And I want you guys to come with a piece of advice that you would like to give your younger self. And I'll be putting those in an article. So please come. It'll be fun right before Halloween. To find all of the past programs, they're on my YouTube channel. I also put them on my blog, but this is just what it looks like. You can join the 28 other people who follow me. It's a very, very popular trending channel on YouTube. Please follow me. No, I'm just kidding. But that's where everything is. And then if you would like to nominate somebody, if you haven't been featured yourself, please let me know, message me, send a carrier pigeon, whatever it is. I would love to have some new women in here. I've got some women who need to fill out their questionnaire. Shireen, that's you. I see you on here. So please do so. I want to let you guys know I have a free webinar on October 14th about repurposing and reusing your content. So many people do what I call one and done, and they post their content once, they never post it again. I hope you won't be that person. You can get a lot of posts out of your content. Rich, I know you do this, right?
All the time. All the time.
Okay, you're going to have to tell us. I'm going to have some questions for you at the end. If you have questions for Rich, put them in the chat, but I want to know how you manage your own social media. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm moderating this panel of in-house counsel for Leopard Solutions. It's going to be really great on the 20th. And I am speaking with the head of alumni relations, I think it's Fried Frank, and then also Washington University College of Law for this webinar on creating a successful alumni relations program. I hope you guys will join. I've got awesome programs for November for Women Who Wow that I will announce to you guys shortly. Please spread the word about Women Who Wow also. Okay, and Rich, I'm going to make you a presenter.
Perfect.
Rich, before we get into emotional intelligence, of which I need a lot, can you tell us just really quickly, like, how do you manage? Like, so tell us about you, all of your brands, what you do. You have a day job, then you're also a successful keynote speaker who actually gets paid to speak. Yep. Tell us like how you manage all of this and still have time for your family, and you work out pretty regularly and you're prolifically posting on social. Like, how do you do it?
Four things. Number one, I have a whole cabinet dedicated to coffee. Number two, the top shelf of that coffee cabinet has bourbon on it. Number three, I have the drive to succeed, and I've had that for a long time. Actually, one of our guests today has known me since way back in our wee school days. So I've always been somebody who has big goals and big aspirations, and I know that they're not just going to land in my lap. So I need to make sure that I'm putting forth my best effort all the time. And then the fourth thing that I'm going to talk about later on is actually the best way to take back control over your day, your calendar, and your schedule. Because, and feel free to drop a response in the chat. I would love to get some involvement started now. Has anybody ever felt out of control of their calendar? Has anybody ever felt out of control of their day and their meeting scheduling? I'm going to give you exactly. I'm going to give you two of the best tips that you could possibly have to take back not only your calendar and your time, but also your emotion throughout the day. And I'm going to give a high school analogy. So I'm glad that Laura is here, because Laura and I went to high school together. So we'll talk about the good old Blue Valley North days. But yeah, I've got tons of tips and tricks today.
I'm excited. I wish you could share a picture from high school. That would be fun. No one wants.
Laura hasn't changed a bit. On the other hand, I don't know that anybody would want to stay on this webinar if they saw my high school pictures. So it's probably best that we save those for later. If you want to reach out to me on social, I'm happy to share some of the probably the most comedic. Awkward family photos that was really big there for a while. I should be in like several of those. So feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share those.
I love it. Okay, awesome. Cool. All right, Rich, I'm going to let you take it away. Thank you so much again for being here. We know you are very in demand. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that, Stephanie, and I appreciate everybody taking their time out today. And I promise you that today will be a different day for you, because I will give you, like I said, tips and tricks in ways and reinsurance, and frankly, permission to take back control over your daily happiness, your daily success, both personally and professionally. Because if you're like any of us, self included, the last couple of years have been really, really challenging. And even before then, life was tough as we become busier professionals, as we take on family lives or extracurricular activities, whatever we're filling our days with. Time gets away from us, emotion gets away from us. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, our days become one into the next, not only from a time standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint. And if you imagine giving the keys to your happiness to somebody else and letting them drive the car and you end up wherever they drive you to, that's what most of us get in the bad habit of doing. So emotional intelligence and diving into emotional intelligence allows you to take that control back, because it is really important, number one, to understand that it is up to you to determine how happy you're going to be on a daily basis. And it's also up to you to teach other people what your boundaries and your limits are, because we all have them and we all need to exercise them. And we also all need to get out of the mentality that setting those boundaries is a negative thing, because we tend to be people pleasers. We tend to do things for others, and we tend to not say no because we don't want to feel like we're shutting people out or being negative. So all of these things said, I'm sure, and again, like, I want to see comments and drop some thoughts and things in the chat. Feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to answer questions. If I don't get to your question during the presentation, we're going to keep track of who's asking the questions. I will reach out to you and connect with you and make sure that you get the answer that you're looking for. So today, I'm basically going to give you the keys back to your happiness. And we're going to talk more about how you can become less stressed on a daily basis by leveraging emotional intelligence. I dove into this about 6 years ago to really start studying it and figuring out how it could be most beneficial for me. And the more I learned, the more I realized that it was really critical that people can take their happiness back. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of lag issue here. Here we go. And it's really important that you understand that it is up to you. It is up to you how you feel on a second to second basis, minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, and so forth and so on. But this presentation will allow you to understand all of the different components and all of the different influences and triggers that go into your emotions and your success on a daily basis. Now, if you're already following me on social, you probably are aware that I'm a big fan of quotes. I have an app that I go to every morning that inspires me, that inspires content. But this was one that I found in doing my research on emotional intelligence that really, to me, summed up what emotional intelligence is. And it is, I won't read it to you because I'm not a big fan of reading slides, but this is really a key mentality when it comes to bringing back control over your life and control over your emotions and your success. Because again, like I said, so many times we feel like we have to give that control up to be more successful or to climb the ladder or to build the teams. We have to sacrifice things. But there are some core fundamental elements of your personality and your energy that you need to remain in control of at all times. Now, I will say this is not a presentation that you're going to come out being completely zen and completely oblivious to all negativity or all negative impacts or triggers or things that are going to set you off. But what it will do is give you a more solid foundational base on which to stand. Because again, over the last 2 years, we've seen it, but even prior to that, and even way past this time, we're going to be having these influences and these triggers on a daily basis that are going to try to knock you off your base. And that is actually the fundamental foundation of my new book that I'm writing right now called Shoulder Width Apart, based on emotional intelligence and how you can leverage it. So you're going to get some sneak peek into the content from my book today during this presentation. But again, this quote to me is really key. This is one of those that's very, like, if you want to take a screenshot and share it, this is absolutely fantastic. Adam, I hear you. I thank you for being here, and I'm happy to share this information. And again, work-life balance is a big thing. And we're going to talk about how you can make sure that you're keeping your time and your priority first and foremost in your life. So I'm going to give you some elements and some insights and some tips today, Adam. So I got you. So let's talk about, because I know seeing some familiar names, and I can imagine the rest of the people on this are people, like the ones I know that are very much results driven and action driven. And so I want to give you these 3 things that are going to be ways that you're going to get better through this presentation. Understanding what emotional intelligence is. The good news is, especially for people like me, is that unlike your IQ, your EQ can actually be increased. Your IQ, research shows, peaks out around 16, 17. From a true foundational standpoint, you can get smarter, but your true IQ remains the same at that point, which, Laura knew me when I was 16. So she knows, she's probably laughing at the screen right now because wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed back then. But your emotional intelligence can be raised. And I'm actually going to give you some exercises at the end of the presentation that are not only impactful as far as increasing your emotional intelligence, they're also going to give you a lot more satisfaction in your day. And most of them are actually really fun. So there's nothing worse than being given tips and things that you need to go do, but they're not engaging and they're not fun. All of them are fun. And all of them are things you're going to want to do. But at the end of the day, I want you to have control back over your happiness, again, personally and professionally. These things are going to be relatable to both sides of your coin. So I want to make sure that you're understanding that either side, whichever side, personal or professional you're looking at, it is one control mechanism that you're going to have through emotional intelligence. Now, when we talk about emotional intelligence, what the definition is, I'm a simpleton in a lot of ways. I like to keep things very simplified. There are a lot of long, definitions, but the short version of it is, I always call it a dance. It is a dance not only with yourself, but it's also with people throughout the entire day, because your emotions will change on a second to second basis. We have, 60,000 thoughts a day. So, the law of averages, the higher number of thoughts you have, the more likely you are to be thrown to different emotional triggers or different emotional ups and downs. So maintaining a strong emotional intelligence will allow you to recognize those, but navigate those so that you can self-choreograph to have a more graceful, more elegant, and not so catastrophic dance. But especially when you're working with other people and interacting with other people, that choreography is really, really key. Managing the communication, managing other people, managing their emotions as well as yours makes it that emotional dance, that communication dance. And it's always better to lead the dance rather than being thrown to the whims of the person leading you. But it really is understanding how you can lead that dance on a day-to-day basis. Now, again, from a simplicity standpoint, there are many, many schools of thought of emotional intelligence. There are some that get upwards of 17 or 18 different aspects. Where I started my research is from Dr. Travis Bradberry's book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And he identifies what I call the core four. And so the left side of the screen is your self-understanding. So it's your self-awareness, which is your emotions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What are the emotions that are going on? And then what you do with those is your self-management, because again, this is not a Zen presentation. You're going to still get mad. You're still going to get frustrated. You're still going to get upset. Things are still going to happen that are going to put you in a negative state of mind. It's how long you sit in that and what you do with those negative emotions that is going to change, because your self-management, understanding, recognizing, and being able to react to those emotions is going to become a lot stronger. So again, we all have bad days. I've had numerous times over the last couple of years during the pandemic, where I'll get into 2 to 3 day ruts. They could have been 10-day ruts, but because they were so impactful and the emotions and things that were going on were so strong, I was able to pull myself out on a quicker and a cleaner path, as opposed to letting myself get too far down the spiral. Now, this is really important on a day-to-day basis too, because again, think about all the stimulus you have in your life. You have work, you have text messages, you have social media outside of yesterday because of the outage, but you have all of these different things that are influencing you on a day-to-day basis. Your alerts, your notifications, your email, all of these things play in. Even sound, smells, visuals, everything going on around you is going to stimulate you in some way. So understanding what your emotions are and then what you do with them is the core foundation of managing yourself. Now, even though there are some days that we all wish we could live in a cave somewhere or escape and be isolated for an extended amount of time, you're still going to have to deal with people on a day-to-day basis. So the right side of the screen is going to talk to the different elements as far as interacting with others. So social awareness is really understanding the other individual that you're interacting with. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? What is going on? It's a lot of active listening, body language, paying attention to body language, looking at people on Zoom, watching their facial reactions. Again, we've all gotten used to that environment. So now paying attention, if you're saying something, if I'm saying something to Stephanie and I watch her facial reaction, reacting to that, or if she looks confused or frustrated, and I can react to that in a better way by just simply paying attention. And then finally, all of those things wrapped together is relationship management. And I could bet you right now, if you stop and think about the 3 people that you spend the most time with, you can probably rate on a scale from 1 to 10 what that relationship is. And it could be, throw in a mix of personal, coworkers, and social. Think about like your family, think about your coworkers, and think about your friends. Pick one person from each of those groups and rate that relationship on a scale from 1 to 10. If it's not a 10, you can probably pinpoint the things that are missing from that relationship or things that can make it stronger. And I'm willing to bet there's some sort of element of communication that fits into that relationship that is missing, or that could be better, that can be enhanced. So whether it's frequency or the quality of communication or how somebody actively listens to you or vice versa, those are going to be key fundamental areas where you can strengthen a relationship. But all of these things, how you react to somebody, how you express your emotions, and then how you interact with that other person is where the relationship is fostered and grown. Now, I am big on statistics because I want to blend the color and the pizzazz and the stories, but I want to give some facts and some statistics about why this is so important. Because it sounds great in practice, but when you think about, well, this sounds like it's been a buzzword for a long time. People have been talking about emotional intelligence, especially in the last 2 years, with mental health becoming more of a focus in corporate settings and business settings. Why is this important? Where are the facts that back up that this is an important thing for me to invest my time and effort in? Well, I'll give you two that are really top of mind. There are tons of them, but these are the two that resonated with me the most. Number one is that 58% of your performance is based in your emotional intelligence. So if you think about yourself as a business person or somebody else that you work with as a business person, only 42% of their performance is based off of their knowledge, their experience, and their skills. So if you think about somebody who's maybe is really smart, I've worked in the legal environment for a very long time. I knew a lot of really smart people who were phenomenal at what they did. They were phenomenal at their discipline. They knew their practice backward and forward. Now that is 42%. Less than half of their ability to perform and be a contributor was contributing or was born out of their skills and their knowledge. 58% of their performance, their leadership, their ability to serve their clients, be a team player, all of that comes from emotional intelligence or is grounded in some form of emotional intelligence. So we all know those people that are high performers, but maybe aren't the best communicators, or are very knowledgeable, but don't have the best tempers, or are not good communicators. There are a lot of different ways that your performance can be affected by emotional intelligence. So you may be really smart at what you do, and you may know your discipline backward and forward, but if you can't regulate your emotions, if you can't communicate, if you can't listen, if you can't serve, and if you can't connect with other people, you're not going to be as high of a performer as possible. So leveraging emotional intelligence is really key here. And 90% of top performers have a high EQ. So if you think about people that are consistent top performers, pick any industry, pick any genre, pick any area that you want to. Chances are, if somebody is at the top of their game, they really have a strong emotional intelligence. They're people that are great team players. They're great leaders. They listen to other people. They communicate well. So this is really, really important because, again, knowledge is always going to get you so far. Your IQ is only going to get you so far. Your EQ is going to take you to that next level. Because, again, the more you listen, the more you communicate, the more you relate, the more you invest in your relationships, the better off your long-term success is going to be. Now, again, I'm a results individual. I'm somebody that wants to see this in action. So I'm going to give you certain scenarios within the core 4 that I talked about earlier that are going to illustrate how you can be in a certain situation, leverage emotional intelligence, and then what that outcome looks like. So I'm going to give you some active tactics that you can use through emotional intelligence to become better at what you're doing. So when we talk about self-awareness, again, going back to that is your ability to understand and recognize your own emotions. So the issue here with self-awareness is that we're out of control of our emotions. Again, we're giving the keys to somebody else to drive the car of our emotions, to drive the car of our happiness. That is something that we get into those ruts when we're not taking good care of ourselves, when we're not focusing on ourselves and paying attention to our own selves because we're too busy trying to do the thing or meet the deadline or make the person happy or do these things that are always on our to-do list. I don't know anyone who has a completed to-do list. If you have a completed to-do list, please today, let me know. I will invest in your consulting company because I want to figure out how to get that done. But we will always have something to do. So when you think about what you need to do for yourself. And one of the biggest game changers for myself and people that I have coached on this is journaling. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and buy a black book and do a whole lot of Dear Abby. This could be 3 minutes, and it could be talking into your phone, into your notes. It could be, I have a Microsoft Word document that I'll jot down thoughts, or I've got a dry erase board over here because I'm a nerd that I have in my office that I'll jot down a thought there. But I'm always capturing those thoughts. I'm always checking in with myself. Because as I mentioned earlier, your emotions, your triggers are going to happen on a minute by minute basis. So if you're not checking in with yourself, think about a snowball rolling down the hill. It's going to continue to get bigger and bigger and more out of control. If you don't stop and check in with yourself and figure out what is going on in your day, you run the risk of being that gigantic snowball creating an avalanche in your world. What I highly recommend, number one, start in the morning. I always do some sort of like a self-balance activity, meditation, maybe some yoga. Maybe it's just listening to a couple of songs that set my mind in the right way. At around lunchtime, I will stop and do 5-10 minutes of self-awareness activity, mostly journaling, getting down thoughts, maybe just unloading some things, because thoughts and triggers and emotions are like weight. If you start putting weight on your shoulders throughout the day and you're carrying the stress of the first meeting and the stress of the emails and the stress of the next meeting and the stress of your schedule, and all of a sudden now you're late, now that's additional stress. If you're carrying that throughout the entire day and you're not unloading it at any point, by the end of the day, you're exhausted. I mean, if you've ever been exhausted at the end of the day, feel free to drop a yes in the chat, because I think we've all been there. We've all gotten to a point where we look at our screen at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock and think, the hell just happened to my day? What? I just feel completely emotionally blindsided because we've not checked in with ourselves throughout the entire day. And when you understand that journaling exercise becomes very powerful, you start looking at what is triggering that. So if I start my day in a great mood and I get to lunch and I've now done my self-awareness exercise and I think, okay, my day changed after that 10 o'clock meeting. What happened in that meeting? Oh yeah, it was, I'm going to pick on you, Stephanie, because you're sitting right there. It was Stephanie was in the meeting and she said something that really upset me, or I didn't take it the right way, but I didn't address it. So I've been carrying that stress and I've been in a bad mood since 10 o'clock. It's now 11:30. I've been carrying that for an hour and a half. I need to jot down what I think about it, what I feel about it. Maybe I address Stephanie, maybe I don't, but at least I'm getting it off my mind, because if I don't, I'm just letting it swirl around and take up mental real estate. So by jotting it down, getting it out of my mind, getting it off my mind, I'm now freeing myself up to move on throughout the rest of my day. I go through with a clearer mind. I go through with less weight on my shoulders and on my mind and on my heart. So, and a lot of the times, like it's, I write a response to that person, dear Stephanie, what you said really irritated me. How rude of you. How dare you challenge my great proposal? And then I delete it, because at least I got my emotions out. I got it out in a safe space and I moved on. Sure, it sounds passive aggressive, but at the same time, you get the things taken out, because Stephanie may not care what I think. And so that's going to make me even more upset. So if I get my emotions out, I'm freeing myself of that stress. And you also start understanding, where are my blind spots? I had an individual that I worked with, and I had a meeting with them every single Thursday. And I started realizing that I started stressing every Wednesday, because I would see that calendar hold on Thursday that I knew that individual was going to be in that meeting. I'm like, oh God, like that's the last person I want to deal with ever. And I've got to do it on a week by week basis. So when I started realizing that my stress levels started going up on Wednesday morning, because I was looking at my day and looking at the day, and then I would glance over and see that Thursday meeting, I was like, oh, this is what's triggering me. This is why Wednesday is such a stress ball of a day for me, because I'm staring at Thursday. So I changed my response to that individual on Thursday, and I changed my mentality of that meeting to look at it as like, how can I beat him to the punch? How can I kill him with kindness? How can I get to him before he gets to me? And it took my power back. I became more in control of my emotions, and I removed my stress because I wasn't letting him own real estate in my mind. Let me grab a quick question here. Adam, yes, managing relationships and responding accordingly. Hopefully a couple of these tips, we'll talk to that. I'm happy to follow up with you on that one. What do you do when you share emotions and you think it's a safe space, but it turns out not to be, and then it adds fuel to the fire? Aaron, I've been there before. Let's connect with that offline. Again, I think your safest space is yourself. So whether that's meditation, whether that's journaling, whether that's writing the email but deleting it or sending yourself the email, that triggers that release. So doing that, you're always guaranteed. If you're not safe with yourself, we have another conversation to have. But if you have the ability to unload that emotion personally and within your own safe space, you don't have to worry about the influences or the trust level in others. So if it's something that is really sensitive that you don't want to have that safe space, then that personal safe space is where you need to be focusing your time. But I'm happy to talk with you. I would love to engage with you about this. And Steph, I think to not let them ruin your day, leave them there. Because again, a lot of the times we spend so much time stressing about someone that is probably not giving us 2 seconds of thought. How many times have you thought about somebody? How many times have you stressed over an individual or worried about how they're going to respond to something? And they could give a care less. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about something else, but you're spending minutes, hours, days thinking about what are they going to do? What are they going to say? How are they going to be offended by what I think? We're spending a lot of time on the what ifs. So allow yourself the ability to remove it, place it aside, and let it go. By holding on to it, again, you're just dragging weight along that is going to make your journey more exhausting and a lot slower. Now, moving on to self-management. This is really, again, going back to review, this is where, feeling our emotions, happiness, sadness, frustration, depression, all of those things, feeling those emotions, but then what do you do with them? Because we have all been burnt out. We have all felt stress and anxiety. Again, if you haven't, I would love to have whatever you're having for lunch, because I don't think we've ever been in a position. I know that I've never been in a position where I've not been, subject to stress or subject to working really hard and being burnt out. And we have all felt that, especially when we work from home, or those of us that work from home or have a hybrid arrangement over the last couple of years. We think, oh, it's working from home. It's going to be easy. You don't know right now I'm wearing a nice shirt, but I could have workout shorts on, or I could have a swimsuit on. Who knows? But that is a perk of it. But the bad thing is that we actually are working longer hours and working later hours and earlier hours because we feel the guilt of having our office right here or having our laptop right here. And now we're connected to everything. So we don't feel like we have the excuse not to work. So understanding that your burnout and your stress are completely up to you. If you drive your car until it's out of gas, whose fault is that? You can see your level. You can see how much gas you have left in your car. If you don't have time to manage to fill up your car, that's poor time management on your part. If you run out of gas, that is your fault. That's just the way it is. And if you look at your energy the same way, that is up to you. It is up to you to fill up your tank. It is up to you to maintain your levels. It is up to you to understand when it's getting in the red. And that is where boundaries become so important. And self-care, I will battle anybody on the value of self-care any day of the week, because self-care to me is the most underrated and the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself. Now, I've talked with several organizations, and there was one gentleman that popped up and said, "Oh, so you're suggesting I go to the day spa?" I'm like, if that's what you need, dude, you go for it. I didn't send me a gift card because I'll join you there. But self-care could be anything from taking a walk, getting up and going and get a glass of water in between meetings, listening to a song. Those of you that know my DJ background and my affinity for music, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I have Spotify playlists for every kind of mood. If I need a 3 to 5 minute punch of energy, or I need to calm down, or I need to focus on something, I've got a playlist for it. And so that's self-care to me. Meditation, Stephanie mentioned working out. I work out every single morning for the most part at around 5 a.m. because that's my time. That's my time to take care of my body, take care of my mind, take care of my energy. And it allows me to take care of my health. I'm not getting any younger. And obviously the higher the mileage, the more the maintenance. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself, but boundaries are such a critical thing. And I promise you that this will be a game changer for you when you start understanding that you are allowed to set boundaries. Perfect example of this. During the pandemic, we all think, okay, we're working from home. I'm still working from home on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of the times we felt like, oh, I can't leave my computer, or I have to take my phone with me because what if somebody needs me and I'm gone for that 5-minute period, and all of a sudden the world catches fire and I have to answer 15 emails. Number one, that rarely happens. Number two, by setting a boundary, I took back control over myself. So what I did was I would set an out of office reply. And even if it was for 5 minutes, even if I just needed to get up and walk down the block and come back to clear my head, change my energy, get up out of my chair, even though I love this chair, it gets boring after a while and I need to get up and stretch my legs. I literally would set a 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute out of office and say, hey, I'm away from my computer, grabbing some fresh air, getting some exercise, or I've stepped away to grab a cup of coffee and listen to some music to re-energize myself. If you need something, it is absolutely urgent. Here's my cell phone number. If not, I will get back to you as soon as I'm back at my desk. Not only did I never, ever get criticized for that, I had more people that would actually hit my email box at that time that would respond to my out of office, or when I would connect with them either on the phone or on Zoom or via email and say, oh my God, I need to do that too. Because it was monumental in their idea or in their mind that you could say, hey, look, I need 5 minutes for me. Because I will always say you can never, ever pour from an empty cup. And whether it's an empty cup or an empty tank, it's up to you to make sure that it's full. Not maybe completely full all the time, but as full as it possibly can be, or as much as you need it to be, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because we cannot perform at our top level. We cannot take care of ourselves at a top level. We cannot engage others if we're completely burnt out. So figure out what your minimal viable self-care product is, whether it's the 5 minute song or coffee or walk or water or whatever you need, or maybe you do need a half day off. Maybe you are mentally burnt out. It's okay. You know, I am a staunch supporter of mental health awareness and taking good care of yourself. And I think it's an atrocious thing that we can say, oh, I don't feel good. I have a cold, or I have the flu, or I have a sore throat, or I broke my arm. I have to go to the doctor. I'm going to be away from my office. And people are like, oh, get well soon. Take care of yourself. But the minute you have any kind of mental stress, anytime you have any kind of depressive state, it almost becomes very taboo to say, hey, I need a mental health day. Like, oh, what's wrong with Rich? Like, what he's about to step. No, I just need to take care of myself. And that is okay. It has become more okay. It still has a long way to go, but the stigma and the taboo around mental health and self-care has become more and more of a conversation point in companies. I talk about it all the time, and it is absolutely critical. And I have seen more and more companies adopt this and live by this, and their employees are thriving, and people are actually trying to join that organization because they value their people. Value yourself first. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself, because nobody is going to come take care of you if you don't take care of yourself first, or raise your hand and let people know that you need to do that. So again, another thing I will completely talk all day about. Moving on to social awareness. And I'm loving that. I'm seeing some of the comments and the replies. I could preach about this all day, and I love that you agree. So please, I'm sure you're all taking care of yourself. So from a social awareness standpoint, a lot of times we get into situations where we're head down, we're working on things, we're not engaging, or maybe we forget to engage people, we forget to be very aware of who else is involved and what's going on, because we get so laser focused on our goal or our outcome. We forget the collateral impact on things. And so as we're looking at these kinds of things, we forget to go and ask feedback. We forget to say it's okay to still own your strategy. It's still okay to lay out a tactical plan. But it is also very okay to say, tell me what you think about it. Aaron, tell me what you think about it. You know, does anything on this list jump out at you as problematic in your world? Even saying that, I mean, I'm sure some of you are thinking, God, I wish somebody would ask me that question. Think about doing that for other people. People always want to feel heard. They always want to feel like their opinion is valuable. And so if we just truck down the line and say, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, ready, break, we don't engage anybody else, or we don't source feedback on things, we may be going down the wrong path. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to have a rough draft of something. It's okay to get feedback. I'd much rather somebody give me feedback because they care and they're investing the time in me being the best that I can be, than think, oh, somebody's going to say something negative about this article or this podcast or this presentation. Oh no, I don't want to listen to any feedback because I may hear something negative. You miss more opportunities to grow and improve by ignoring feedback or avoiding feedback than you ever will by just keeping to yourself and doing your own thing and going down your own line. So solicit feedback, give that active listening. If you're asking somebody for feedback, all you're allowed to say is, thank you, I appreciate that. It's not a battleground. It's not a place to start a debate. If I say, Stephanie, can you please give me some feedback on this article? and Stephanie dedicates her time to making me look as good as I possibly can by reviewing my article and giving me feedback, all I need to say is, Stephanie, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking the time to look over this and give me feedback. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's not for me to say, well, Stephanie, you're wrong. Why would you say something like that? That's not the time. And that will do more for your engagement, and it builds into your relationship management more than you can ever imagine. Think about your teams. If you engage in those conversations, if you say, here's what our strategy is, does anybody see any blind spots that we're missing? You may not hear anything. Everybody may say, no, this is great. This is totally locked tight. Let's move forward. Great. If somebody raises their hand and asks questions or offers feedback, you may have not thought about something that needs to be included. That's a perfect time to thank that individual, add that in. You're going to get more engagement from your team on that strategy. They're going to want to push it forward just as much as you do because they feel like they have some say in the game. So give them that opportunity. Don't be afraid of feedback. Don't be afraid of constructive criticism. Welcome that in because it's going to help you be better all around. And finally, relationship management. When we talk about having relationships, but we're not really having the impact that we want, because a lot of people will claim themselves as leaders. I'm a leader because my title says so, because I'm a director or I'm a chief. And so therefore I'm a leader. How many times have we worked with somebody that has that title that couldn't lead, there's plenty of metaphors and I can't think of any of them, couldn't lead a thirsty person to a water fountain. They just don't have leadership skills at all. They're not able to communicate the value of following what they are leading or buying into the strategy that they want to put forward because they're too wrapped up in them. They're not listening to other people. They're not engaging. They're very head down on what's important to them. Being a servant leader has changed my dynamic, has changed the dynamic of those that I have absolutely engaged with, have coached, have given feedback to, because so many people, and it's, sometimes we get into that mode depending on what's going on, is that we get so focused on our results. We get so focused on our goals. And we forget that when we give, we get back in return. And so by supporting other people, giving to other people, just asking other people what they need or how you can support them, that does tremendous wonders for your relationships. Think about if somebody just said, hey, Adam, what can I do to help you? What are you working on? What is your main focus right now? And what do you need to have happen to have that be successful? I may not be the person that provides it. Maybe you just need somebody to listen. But if Adam comes back and says, Rich, I really need fill in the blank. If that's not something I can do directly, but I know somebody that can, I can make a recommendation. If it's something that he shares that I'm not quite sure, I can ask him, Adam, do you just need me to listen here or do you need my help? Even that engagement, Adam now feels like I care about what he's working on. And be genuine about it. And people will understand like, hey, Rich is really concerned and interested in my success. All of a sudden, that there is a new bond of relationship there. And again, doing it in a true servant leadership manner and not like I'm going to give, but I better get back. That all of a sudden, your trust, your relationships, your team building will be completely solidified because so many times we just forget to care about other people or to stop and say thank you or to stop and ask, how can I help? And that honestly has been one of the biggest game changers in my professional life, in my personal life, and in those that I've coached and consulted is on this tip. So please take the time, write down 5 people today that you want to reach out to just to connect how you can serve somebody, how you can just intentionally reach out to them, send them a text message, write a handwritten thank you note. Amazing game changers. So please, please, please practice this sometime today. Now on to the fun stuff, because all of these things are great and they give you really, really great opportunities to understand how to change the dynamic in a conversation or a relationship. But it is all about getting back to your true balance and understanding what you can do for your emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give you tactics on both the professional and the personal side, because there are ways to manage your emotional intelligence and enhance it in both scenarios. So professionally, and there are several things on here. Again, I'm not a slide bullet point reader, so I'm going to just let you look at some of these. They're pretty self-explanatory. The one I want to focus on is blocking time in your calendar. And I mentioned this at the outset. And Laura, I'm gonna bring back the hallways of Blue Valley North here. When we were in high school, we had passing period, call it whatever you want. It was that 5 minute, however long you needed, depending on how big your school was. We had 5 minute passing periods. It allowed you to get from math to history, go from one class, drop off your books, grab your books for your next class, go on to the next class. It allowed you subconsciously to change gears, because now I'm coming out of math. I don't need to focus on math anymore. I'm moving into history. It allowed me to check in with my friends. It allowed me to spend some time on myself, do whatever I needed to do in that 5 minute period to get ready for the next thing. Now, as adults, we have gotten rid of passing period. We all of a sudden think it's really cool to look at our calendars and be like, I'm so booked. I'm so slammed. Look at my calendar. My calendar's crazy. It's like burnout bravery. It's ridiculous. We have to stop that. We have to stop the badge of bravery around burnout and being busy. There's a lot of B words. It sounds like a Sesame Street skit. But I want to make sure that you understand it is critical. It is absolutely critical to give yourself that time. A couple different things. Number one, I have moved away from 30-minute meetings and 60-minute meetings. I now do 25-minute meetings or 20-minute meetings and 45-minute meetings. Reason being is that my meetings are intense. There's a lot of things that I need to get through. A lot of the client conversations that I have or interactions that I have, I need to get a lot done in those. There's a lot of takeaways. We talk about a lot of different things. And so if I'm to do that, one after the other, after the other, after the other, I would literally have a page full of notes that all of a sudden I get to 5 or 6 o'clock and go, oh crap, what did I talk about at 9 o'clock? What does this mean? Because maybe I'm taking notes so fast. But if I give myself that 5 or 10-minute period or that 15-minute period on a 60-minute meeting, I can then say, hey, great meeting, Erica. I love that you've done this. So I'll use Erica because her name popped up. So if Erica and I have this meeting, hey, it went great talking to you. Follow-up steps are this, and this. We'll meet next week and we'll follow up on all of these things. Meetings done. I now have 15 minutes to look at my notes. I typically star my takeaway items. I can go in and say, okay, here are my 3 takeaway items. Okay, great. I can only do this. I can delegate this. Is this a priority? It's probably another 3 weeks before she needs this done. I can move this to a lower priority list. It gives me that time to strategize and digest what just happened. But if I go from a meeting with Erica to a meeting with Stephanie, to a meeting with Aaron, to a meeting with the other Aaron, I don't have the ability to draw the line on who said what, who wants what, who needs what. I don't have the time to prioritize. My email hasn't stopped. My phone hasn't stopped. My social media hasn't stopped. So I'm not giving myself the time to actually act on those things. So that at the end of the day, I'm sitting in a pile of inactivity or lack of productivity because I'm not giving myself the time to do that. The other calendar game changer that I've done is that I mentioned earlier that, my 5 o'clock workout time is really important to me. So is self-study. I want to get better every day at what I do, and I want to find the time to do that. I got to a point where I wasn't dedicating the time for my own self-education. So what I focused on doing is I call it Wisdom Wednesdays. Wisdom is a very strong word because there are sometimes I'm just reading articles because they're saved on my list. But Wisdom Wednesday is when I get up early in the morning, have a cup of coffee, come in my office, turn on some like low-key focused music, classical music, maybe some ambient music just to listen because I need that for my own focus. But I focus on articles. I focus on writing content. I focus on podcast content. I focus on keynote content, catching up on emails, whatever I need to do in that time. And I make a list because I know if I've got 2 hours on Wednesday morning to just do whatever I want, I can knock that list out in a heartbeat. And then I'm knocking things off my to-do list. I'm knocking things off my saved article list. I'm improving myself. I'm getting better. Maybe there's something I want to go learn. Goodness knows there's plenty of things and tactics around just LinkedIn itself to get better at all the time. So how can I use that time to do that? So if you block the Wisdom Wednesday and then also cut back those meeting times to give yourself that passing period and use passing period as your reminder, that is such a game changer as far as our emotional intelligence, because I am done with those days where I get to the end of my day and I still will have hard days where I'll feel exhausted, but I don't feel like getting to the end of my day where I feel like I didn't get anything done because I was just constantly taking notes. And yes, Stephanie is the hardest person in the world to cut off. And she and I can talk for hours, and we have at times, But there are times where I got to get in and get out. It's not that I don't adore Stephanie and I don't adore the conversation. It's just that I got to get to things. And so I'm very diligent about that. But again, it's self-boundary setting, it's self-respect, it's self-care for me, because I know I could talk to Stephanie all day long, but I would get nothing else done. So those are professional emotional intelligence enhancers. Now for the fun stuff. These are all things that you should be doing at any given time. And, honestly, if you're not sleeping, which most of us forget to do, I am a night owl and an early bird by chemical nature. So it's hard for me to get a lot of sleep, and I don't need a whole lot of sleep. But there are times where I have to get more sleep because I'm not taking care of myself. Gratitude and meditation have been another game changer. I know I'm using that term a lot, but it is true. Meditation has been a big time change in my life. It allows me first thing in the morning and last thing at night to center on what is important to me, where my energy is. It allows me to focus on what I need that day, that night, the next day. It allows me to get my mind around what is going on. Because again, if we throw our emotions to the wind or throw our emotions to the whim of our calendar or the people that we work with or the people that we live with, it gets out of control really, really quickly. And so all of these different things, and music is the one, again, like I can talk all day about music. It is so critical to me to have music in my life. And so this Spotify playlist collection that I have, feel free, like, you can access my Spotify through my website. Feel free to follow any of the playlists that you want. There's workout playlists, there's focus, there's relaxation, there's good moods, there's sing-along stuff, anything and everything you can possibly need. I also am the king of mixtapes, which I'm old enough to say mixtape. So if you want me to make one for you, I'm here for it. Like, let me know whatever mood you need or whatever style you need. I can get you down the path really quickly. But that in that 5-minute time or that 10-minute time, or, I joke about walk-up songs all the time. I listen to walk-up songs. I have a playlist called Inspirational that I'll listen to them before a sales pitch or before a presentation or before a big initiative that I'm launching, or before my workouts, or before whenever I just really need to raise my confidence and raise my energy to be able to tackle anything I need to. I have that playlist. Give me 3 minutes, give me 5 minutes. I'm in it. Jay-Z, Seven Dusts, Linkin Park, whatever I need, I'm in it. That is my time to take that confidence back and allow me to go into whatever I'm trying to accomplish with a very confident mind. Let's see. Creativity, Leon, a great question. And I think it's in regards to this. I spend a ton of time on creativity. I'm not ashamed. I own an adult coloring book. It's one of the best things in the entire world. It is so relaxing to me because I'm tired of painting the walls of my house, because that's my big adult coloring project. But adult coloring books for creativity. But also, I am very much a brainstormer. I'll sit down with a piece of paper or on my whiteboard, or I'll just do kind of a brain dump onto a document. And all of a sudden, you'd be surprised at how much of my content comes out of just random creative thought time. And we forget to give ourselves that time just to let our minds relax. And all of a sudden, all these great ideas come out. I've had more great ideas staring out the window of my office, brainstorming, than anything I've ever done, because it allows me to relax my mind. I think about scenarios, I think about questions, I think about needs of my clients, and then how can I leverage something creative? Anybody who's ever worked with me, Stephanie, knows this because she's worked with me on a presentation before, is that I'll think of something and I'm like, okay, how can we make that fun? How can we take it to another level? How can we increase the engagement? How can we make it more impactful? If you've ever done an event with me, same thing. Like, I want to take it to another level all the time because that's where my creativity thrives. Agreed, Leona. That is, I'm using that other side of my brain because sometimes I get too focused on the tactical things and I forget to loosen the other side of my mind and leverage that creativity. You come up with more solutions for your team, your company, your clients, yourself personally. It is critical that we allow ourselves that playtime. Think about children. Like my 9 and 5-year-old are the most creative beings in the entire world because they just let their minds roam. And I'm inspired by them because I've come up with so many great ideas, just letting them kind of be my inspiration to free thought and to ask why, to do the 7 layers of why. Like, why am I doing this? Why is this important? Why is it going to be this? So I adapt that as opposed to letting it be like, oh my gosh, my kid's asking why 7 times. It is an impactful exercise to take control of your creativity. Adam, I agree. Sketching something, I'm terrible at drawing, so I usually start laughing at myself halfway through so I don't get through a full sketch. But I'm glad that you have creativity through your sketching. I would love to learn how to draw better from you. But really, all of these things are all about coming back to your center, about finding the center of your mind, center of your heart, center of your emotions. Because as in my book, when I talk about your feet being shoulder width apart, I give the comparison of when I played football and my feet were too close together and I would get knocked down. Or if my feet were too wide, I would have to take an extra step to get back to the middle to make a move. But by keeping my feet shoulder width apart, I was able to withstand a shot. I was able to move quickly. I was able to move intelligently, and I felt more confident. And I think we all need to feel that on a daily basis. And by leveraging your emotional intelligence, leveraging these exercises, putting these tactics into a daily practice, all of a sudden you will feel more in control. Again, you will not be oblivious to bad things. You will not be oblivious to bad moods. You will always have some sort of a negative trigger come in your life, because the closer you get to satisfaction with yourself, you're going to have those come your way. But if you're more balanced, if you're more understanding of your emotions, and if you don't allow those negative triggers, those negative people, those negative influences to take that control away from you, your life will change overnight. And so I implore you all to leverage these tactics, to leverage these tips, to take better care of yourself, to implement that time, that deliberate time, that non-negotiable block of time that is yours for creativity, for self-care, for understanding, for brainstorming, or just to get up and do something for yourself. It is really, really important, because the more you do that, the more you take care of yourself and the more you pour back into yourself and fill your tank, the better off you're going to be for everybody in your life and every aspect of your life. So it's absolutely critical that you start today and don't let go of your belief that you are the most important resource that you have in your life, because you are. And so hopefully these start serving you in a way that allows you to take that power back. And my really heavy graphic slide is coming up. Maybe. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I will give you this. So if you have any questions, if you have any needs, I will send Stephanie a link to the presentation. I'll have the presentation for you. I have infographics galore on emotional intelligence. If you have questions, if you have something you want to talk about, if you have a playlist you want me to build, email me the QR code. If you have the LinkedIn QR code, the LinkedIn app on your phone, or you can even get your camera out on your phone and scan the QR code and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always putting content out. You can see me practice what I preach. These are ways to get in touch with me. I would love to hear from any and all of you. If there's something that was just an aha moment that you just want to share, I would love to hear how this impacted you. But most importantly, I want to hear how you're putting these things into practice and how they're changing your energy, your performance, your happiness, because that's the most important thing. So I'm so thankful to each and every one of you for listening, for understanding that you are important. The fact that you're here shows me that your emotional intelligence and that your self-care and your personal care is important to you. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that first step, because it's sad to hear so many people sacrificing their own happiness and their own energy and their health for a lot of reasons, because they're afraid to take care of themselves. So I applaud you for taking that first step. And I am here to support you in the journey for better self-care and better emotional intelligence. So thank you so much.
Rich, I couldn't have asked for a better timing of it. Like, you literally finished right on time. For that I thank you. I always learn from you, and the comments in here are terrific. I mean, it's practical. It's stuff we can all apply. It just involves the kind of stopping and thinking before we react, which is one of the biggest issues that I have. I hope you guys will follow Rich on all of his social platforms. Rich is somebody that does a really great job of changing the message for the medium, which is really important. So his Instagram posts are very different than what he will post on LinkedIn. So you should definitely follow him. I continue to be in awe of you. I was a big fan before I even knew Rich. I was like a fan. I was like a groupie. And then we did a presentation together about how to create your Kevin Bacon effect for yourself in Chicago a few years ago. And we became very close from doing that. And I adore you. So thank you for doing this. Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up? I know there have been some things in here. I agree. There's some, the comments are great. Prioritizing self-care. I will do a recap piece on this webinar as well. And like Rich said, he will make some of the slides available to us, and there'll be a recording of this. So any final thoughts, any comments, any questions, concerns? No? Okay.
Yeah, if you have questions, drop them in the chat, or if you aren't comfortable dropping them in the chat, email me your questions. I'm happy to answer every single one of them that you have.
And by the way, look at that great way you're doing personal branding right in his Zoom name. You see how Rich added his URL to his website? That's something that I don't see enough people do. I'm not doing it, and I should be doing it. So for those of you who have your own business, Shireen, etc., on here, you guys should be doing that. We do have a question from Erin Hawk about when is your book coming out, Rich?
So Aaron, I'm working on it right now. So again, practicing what I preach. I have been very blessed to take on 2 book writing mentors who are both top selling business, innovation, motivation authors, both fantastic speakers as well. So they are working on feedback. So I'm basically, I've been wanting to write a book for a long time. I came up with the concept of my book in the middle of a keynote presentation in Las Vegas in June. So the book writing is going on right now. My goal is to have the first draft of it done by the end of the year. And then my publishing goal is by spring of 2022. So I will absolutely keep you all posted. But the book will be entitled Shoulder Width Apart. And I am so excited. I'm so amazingly blessed to have these 2 mentors, but I want to do this right because it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I actually have a clip from my keynote presentation where I can solidify or point out the moment that it hit me. I was like, this should be the topic of my book. I've been wanting to write a book for like 5 years and have never settled on it. So this was that time. So long answer to spring of 2022 is the goal right now. So hopefully sooner if I can, get all my act together and get the feedback when I need it. But 2022 is when it's coming out.
All right. Hopefully you'll be able to do an actual book tour.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Yes. So guys, remember the next Women Who Wow, we're doing a happy hour on the 28th. Everyone's welcome, men, women, animals, whatever you got. So feel free to come, and we're going to be doing the second part of the Women's CMO Forum as well. We did one in August. We'll do another one, and I have some other tricks up my sleeve for November and December. So thank you guys for being here, and don't hesitate to reach out to Rich or myself with any questions. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Rich, thank you. I put the link to the happy hour in here, but also you can find it on I'll send an email around about it, but it's also on my LinkedIn profile as well, Leona. So you'll be able to find it in a multitude of places, but I'll do a follow-up email to everybody as well. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rich. And stop painting that wall, Rich. The wall looks terrific. No more painting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No more painting on this wall. And this isn't the only painting that you'll see behind my head.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Shireen. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Take care.
Have a great day.